5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. What's up, champions? Coach Rael here with Getting Real with Rael, where we get authentic, we get vulnerable, and we find the real truth behind a person's glory. We find out the real grit, the story. I'm so excited about our guest today that I'm actually nervous. I'm just keeping it real. I'm going to have a confession. You know, I'm nervous, dude, because I think of all the interviews I've done, I'm most excited about this one because as you're going to meet, the title of this podcast is "Have You Ever Been to the Mountaintop?" And we all know where that comes from. That's Martin Luther King. He's, you know, one of my greatest mentors that I have. But when we talk about being to the mountaintop, it's about vision, right? And very few people have true vision. And my guest today has unbelievable vision. And I'm excited to spend some time with him and for you to hear it. So without further ado, I want to bring on my guest, Hiep Tran. Are you there, brother?
I'm here, Rael. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Looking forward to speaking with you today.
Yeah, so am I. So listen, Hiep, like I said, you know, I call it, we all know everybody's glory. And I want to start there. If you can go through your life and share all your victories with us, the great moments you have, your accomplishments. Let's start there and take us through that journey.
Sure. First of all, you know, I'm married. I've been married to Pauline for I think 14 years now. I've known her since 13, so we've been together since 13. We have 4 amazing children, and there's a story behind that as well. But yeah. Grew up here, born and raised in Orange County, California. Parents came over here from Vietnam and really had a lot of success in my life. Also had a lot of failures as well, as you may have heard or know. But you know, I'm in a good place. I'm a self-made entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, and have ran many companies and businesses locally as well as globally. And so the current business I'm in is called Amari. So I am the CEO and founder of Amari.
Yes. Now, you're being very humble, right? Because you've actually, you know, created and built and, you know, billion-dollar companies, right? Millions and millions of dollars, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's,
you know, when someone tells me, hey, tell me all your, you know, highlights or glory, you know, it's not my personality to say, hey, look at me, or look what I've done. You know, that's not what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about helping people and getting real. And you know, some of my accomplishments, I'm gonna say my business accomplishments, they're great and all, but you know, I really like to reflect on, you know, keeping my family together all these years, going through struggle and having 4 amazing kids and still being successful and being able to run a business today on a big scale. That's success to me. Success to me isn't a trophy or an amount of money I'd made or anything like that, because after a certain amount of money, it doesn't matter. You're still eating the same chicken and rice at home and with vegetables. And you know, as long as my wife's Whole Food credit card works, we're good. Yeah.
I love that. And you know, and that's really why I'm so honored to spend some time with you, because that's just how you are. But you know, and I will say I was blessed to meet your family, your amazing wife. But I got to tell you, in 56 years of my life, I have never seen anything like your kids. I'm truly, I was just floored watching your kids. I got to spend time with Hiep and his team and his amazing company last week, and he had his whole family there, and it was just like the whole weekend I was just mesmerized watching your kids, like when they were working behind the counter, when they were with you, they're just so amazing. And you know, one of my sayings is they will become who you are. So, you know, God bless you, and thank you to you and your wife for just raising 4 of the most amazing champions I've ever seen. So
thank you on that. And you know, having a really strong work ethic is really important to me and my family. And I really want to get my kids working as soon as possible, because it's important. You learn so much throughout, you know, working. So yeah, it's important.
Yeah, and so Now let's get in, if you will allow us, right? Because I've heard your story, the real story, the struggles, the challenges, and you know what was crazy to me, Hiep, when I was listening to you share that story, and you're going to share that with us now, I hope. It was really weird because it was like watching myself talk. Our stories are very similar on a lot of ways, but take us through those challenges. Like go back. Like I always like to start around 5 years because that's a pivotal age for all of us. Like, did you have a good relationship with your parents? Were your parents married, divorced? Did you have siblings? And take us through that journey that took you from here to where you are now, and those, like, just get raw and real with us and share those real authentic moments, please.
Sure. So, born and raised here in Orange County. Parents came over here in 1975 from the Vietnam War. So they came over here and they worked multiple jobs. They were the local janitors for the high school. And they worked and did whatever they could to really put food on the table. And so as a child, you didn't really see your parents because they were working. That's what they did. They had to work to pay for everything. And as a child, sometimes you don't understand that. For whatever reason, you didn't feel loved. And of course your parents loved you. If they didn't love you, they wouldn't do all the things they did. And so, but for some reason, as a child, I didn't feel loved, and I didn't have friends. And so, I ended up on the street at a young age, hanging with the wrong crowds and, hanging around gangs and things like that. And when I finally met my wife at 13 years old, she just gave me an ultimatum that says, hey, you can hang around your friends or you can go with me, but I'm not having any of this. And so I made a decision to really, I chose my wife at that time, Pauline, at 13 years old, and I've been with her ever since. So we've been through a lot, but transitioning from childhood was going to college. Parents worked, saved a lot of money, and they wanted me to be like my uncle. My uncle was a dentist. He was the vision of success for the family. He could eat whatever he wanted. He could go on one vacation every year and he didn't have to worry about it or look at his bank account. I mean, back then it was just a simple life. You could eat whatever you want and just go on a vacation once a year and you're good. And my parents, working multiple jobs and eventually owning a Mexican restaurant in Orange County. We were the Vietnamese family that owned the Mexican restaurant. They saw how hard it is to run a business, especially a restaurant business. You're up at 9 and you're not coming home till midnight or 1 in the morning. And so they wanted a better life for me. They wanted me to go to school to study biology and become a dentist. So all I had to do was graduate college. And my uncle would retire soon and he'd give me his practice and I'd be good. So, typical Asian family, doctor or dentist or engineer. I don't want to hear anything else. Your parents decide what you're going to study, what you're going to be, and you just kind of listen to your parents. So I went to Cal State Fullerton, did the 5-year program without graduating. I couldn't pass chemistry. So I passed all my other classes. I couldn't pass my 3 or 4 classes of chemistry. School wasn't for me. I just didn't fit in the box for some reason, And I hated chemistry. I still cringe when I think about it. But I ended up dropping out after 5 years, unfortunately. It started a series of thoughts of being not good enough, not smart enough, a quitter, and then eventually I found a job in 2000. It was 2000 as a customer service rep for a payments company. And I worked up the corporate ladder in 5 or 6 years, and then I was running the entire business. And then I decided to go into residual sales, commission only, create a massive residual base as well, knocking door to door to start. I still remember my first residual check was $38.47. And going home and showing my wife that check, and she was making good money back then. she was the major breadwinner, and she's like, yeah, honey, just as long as you're happy, just stay out of trouble. Hopefully that $38 will turn into something. And I looked at her, and I smiled, and I was like, I'll show you. And eventually those checks continued to grow and grow, almost to 7 figures at a point. So within a couple of years, I learned how to network. I learned how to look people in the eyes. I started to build confidence. I learned how to deal with my self-esteem issues, and really learned to connect with people and learn to sell. And then my world got turned upside down when the company I was working with, I was their top salesperson in the country, and they decided not to pay me. So I was broke again, and I think this is all public information. They owed me like $2 million, and they filed bankruptcy or something like that.
Wow.
And I told myself I would never allow that to happen to myself again. I would never put my destiny in someone else's hands. I would want more control. And this builds up to my story. Is I learned at a young age that control helped me, and so as an entrepreneur, in the beginning, you do need a control, but as later you get on in your life, you realize that you gotta learn to let go. But my early years was all about control. So things happened to me, I learned to control, and I gripped down even harder and controlled my outcomes. And I ended up starting my own business in 2008. My wife and I were married. We started our own business. 2008 is when the economy went the other way. And so who starts a business during that time? We do. I mean, we don't think too far. We don't think 60 days ahead of us. When we want to do something, we just jump. And so that really was the start to some of my major issues. Was when I started my own business, being your own boss and entrepreneur. When the economy went the other way, we had about $300,000 or $400,000 left, and I invested it with a partner and created a company called Amare Payment Solutions. So now, instead of working for another company, being their top salesperson, I created my own payments company. Started with 5 people, and eventually I grew that to 100 full-time employees. But it was hard. Going through and building a business like that is hard. What was happening at the same time is my wife and I struggled to have kids. My wife and I went through 7 cycles of in vitro, and for anyone that understands that process, it's tough. For a woman, it mentally breaks you. My wife struggled with depression. I didn't know how to help her. At the same time, she's at home now, no longer working. I'm trying to build a business from the ground up. And fast forward to 2010, I had a net worth of about $10 million. I was the vision of success of my family now. I was the first generation of Americans in America. And 10 years ago, before that, in 2000, I was making $13 an hour. And now, 2010, I had a net worth of $10 million. Mm. And then overnight, there was regulatory change in payments, and I lost the business overnight. So I was juggling those 2 things at once of not being able to have kids, not understanding why, amassing a good-sized fortune of $10 million when you grew up with nothing. You dropped out of college and you hustled, you worked every day, you grinded for every dollar you had. And then you're faced with a situation where you have to go home and tell your wife there's no more money for further in vitro cycles. We're broke. There's no more money. And so that was a tough time in my life. I was in my early 30s. I didn't know how to deal with the stress, the pressure. My natural instincts was to control more, to grip down and control, but I was actually losing control. I lost my business, so I was losing control of everything. So I started to numb myself. I started to drink. I really never drank in my early ages or my college years. Kind of started drinking in my early 30s to kind of numb myself from the situation. And that eventually evolved to alcoholism and substance abuse as well. Yeah, it was a really unfortunate time in my life. I've come to realize those are some of the worst decisions I've made. But I've learned to forgive myself. I've learned to let go and to tell myself I'm human, and those were the best decisions I knew how to make at that point in time where my mind was at. So that's helped me forgive myself from those moments. I knew in order for me to kind of get out of that, I had to break through one of those walls, kids or the business. And so I brought more money, and we ended up having more in vitro cycles, and cycles 5, 6, and 7, she ended up getting pregnant. And we got our 3 girls from that, Madison, Mila, and Misha. And so Pauline now is occupied with 3 kids. She's happy. And, now I'm able to refocus my efforts back on the business. And so all the people I helped throughout the years, I went back to them. I borrowed more money to rebuild my business. And when the regulatory change in 2010 happened, we had about 50 full-time employees. I never laid off one single person because all these people were like families. And I've worked with them for so long over the years that they're like family. You felt responsible for them. I just couldn't do it. So I put everything on my shoulders, more control, just, I got this. And I thought to myself, if you were broke before, you're broke now. What's the difference? Who cares? So, I borrowed money and continued to grind at the business. And from 2010 to 2014, I rebuilt the business from scratch. And so now we have 2014, we had 100 full-time employees. But it sounds easy, but through those 4 years, every single day, there's a dark side. I had a second life. I didn't know how to communicate with my wife. I didn't know how to feel. I was a robot. I was a man on a mission to rebuild this business, and I didn't know how to deal with my stress. So the drinking continued, the abuse continued, the substance abuse continued as well, and so not sure how I made it through those days, but I hated what I became. I woke up every morning, looked in the mirror, and I just said, how is it possible you continue to wake up? I mean, you should be dead. And there's times, honestly, understanding what I turned into, I wish I was dead a lot of times in my life. But how I would offset those negative feelings was I would go and accomplish more professionally. I would go try to make more money and feel good about that I'm worthy or I'm good of something. And so it became a vicious cycle for 4 years. Then out of nowhere in 2014, I was hanging on by the threads, literally. I was about 35 years old. And at 35 years old, I had a $10 million cash value life insurance policy. Who does that at 35 unless you think you're going to die? So I'm just sharing that for you to understand my mindset, and how bad it got. In 2014, out of nowhere, someone called and said, we want to buy your business. We weren't expecting it. It wasn't for sale. It's just trying to survive. The offer ended up coming over at $225 million. At this point, all the debt was repaid. We didn't have any investors in the business. Everything was bootstrapped. So, it would be $225 million free and clear. I was like, wow, that's a God shot, or that's a blessing, right? I always worried what would happen to my family if I wasn't around. So that gave me a huge relief that I knew my kids and my wife would be taken care of forever, regardless of what happened. But then there was one catch. The company that acquired us said, here's the money. They wired the money, but they said, we want you to be our CEO. I'm like, what? you want me? You have no idea what you want. I clean up pretty well, and I can take a nice shower and get in the suit, and I look pretty good. But man, I was broken. I was really broken. I also knew that if I didn't have a method of getting healthy and sober, that having all this money and sitting at home with no plan would be a disaster too. So I ended up accepting the role as CEO of PaySafe on their payments side. And one of the other worst decisions of my life, because if my health was bad in 2014, the next 2 years, it got a whole nother level worse. I struggled with self-esteem all my life. Nothing's ever good enough. I feel awkward in my own skin sometimes. The voice inside of me says, you're not smart enough, you didn't graduate school, you're a fraud, you don't belong here. And so being CEO of a public global company was rough. I would take more Xanax before I would go into board meetings because there were Ivy League graduates and I was afraid of them saying, where'd you go to school, or things like that. Or I would have to speak in front of 100, 150 people, and before I got nervous, I would take more Xanax.
Nathan, I'm on a call.
I would take more Xanax and knock myself out on the plane so I can make it to London, from London to Montreal, then to all the major U.S. cities, telling the pain and story. And so all those pharmaceutical drugs catch up with you. Your body builds a tolerance, and man, the wheels literally started falling off. I was losing my mental health. I was losing my physical health. And fast forward to January 2016, I was on a trip to Houston, and my family, my daughters, and my wife were dropping me off at the airport. And I looked in the rearview mirror, and I saw my oldest daughter, Madison, start to cry. And she said, "Dad, why do you keep doing this to us? Why do you keep leaving?" And then I looked back and I was like, Dad's just going on a business trip. I'll be back in a couple days like I always am. And all my other girls started to cry too. And my wife proceeded to cry. And they were just like, what are you chasing? You're the most successful person in the world. What are you running from? What are you chasing? And then I had a moment of clarity. I envisioned if I kept doing what I was doing, the plane would either go down or the hotel door room would never open again, meaning I finally died in this thing. So I knew in life there's these moments that are presented in front of us. And so you have to decide. You have to decide what you want. And so immediately when I got back from that trip, I was offered $2 million a year to stay on as their CEO because their business continued to have great growth. I took the role at $100,000 salary just to be busy, stay busy. I declined the offer, and I resigned as their CEO in January 2006. There's a lot of things I promised my family, my kids. I want to be around to make sure I fulfill those promises. So I resigned, and just like all of my business ventures, I put 200% into getting help. I put my pride, my ego down, whatever it took. I took direction. I checked myself into some of the best treatment centers in the country. Worked with some of the best doctors, naturopaths, acupuncturists. Ingested traditional Chinese herbs, and slowly but surely got my health back. And over the next 6 months, just got my clarity back, got my mental clarity back. My lens was clear now, and started enjoying the little things in life, which now I realize are actually the big things in life. Dropping off your kids at school, picking them up, helping them with their homework, and truly being present versus just being physically present. And life is good. I don't know how I got out of that. And if I had 9 lives, I probably have half of one life left. And then life continues to get better. My wife walks in the summer of 2016. My wife walks by and throws a pregnancy test. It lands on me, and I was like, "Ew, people pee on this. Why'd you throw this on me?" I thought she was showing that her sister was pregnant. we find out she was pregnant with our fourth child, and she got pregnant naturally. Once you get healthy, you free yourself from the stress and the depression and all these things that your life, your body is healthy, magical things happen. And she gets pregnant naturally with our son. So now we have 3 girls and a boy. And Christian, we named him Christian because we think it's a blessing from God. So we named him Christian. So life, is amazing. Got my life back. Went through all those trials and tribulations, the ups and downs. Got my life back, and then the entrepreneur of me starts coming back. I can't sit still. I'm a guy that can't sit still. I always have to be doing something. I was driving my wife crazy at home, and she said, "You know what? You should go find something else to do." And so, for me, I had to think. If it wasn't about money no more, if I didn't have to make another single dollar in the rest of my life, what would get me to jump out of bed every morning? One is mentoring and coaching people. I've been through a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes. So I think I've become wise on that. And, I've hiked a couple trails in my life. And so I just love to coach and mentor people. I mentor about 20 people on a monthly basis for free. The joke here in Orange County is, if you allow me to mentor you, I'll pay you, because I enjoy doing it so much. The other aspect is health and wellness. I wanted to be in health and wellness forever so that I could live a healthy life. I could be front and center. I couldn't have a double life. So I wanted to combine those two things of mentoring and coaching with health and wellness. And through my own transformation and journey, I realized that I couldn't be a great husband or father. I couldn't love others until I figured out how to love myself. And so that's how Amari was born. Amari in Latin means to love. So I had to learn to love myself. I didn't get healthy from a bottle of pills, a bottle of supplements. It was a lot of products, supplements, vitamins, but it was also programs. I did a lot of programs, whether it was mindfulness, it was breath works, it's meditation, working with nutritionists, working with physical coaches to help me regain my strength. It was the products combined with the programs, and then it was wrapped around a community of people. And so the community of people loved me unconditionally. People helped me. People served me. People came to me and said, "Give me your hand and let me help you. I've been down this road." And so I thought to myself, okay, I need to take direction. And once I learned it, I went through that and got sober, got healthy, and then I realized the service aspect, the service component. Once you're given a gift of health, once you're given your life back, you have to spend the rest of your life giving it to others and helping others. And so the whole idea of Amari was born. How do we create a holistic mental wellness platform of products, programs, and people centered around a community that's focused on love and service? If we can teach people to love themselves and give them their lives back, they would do it for free. They would serve others willingly for free, because we know how dark it can get. So why would we want any other human being to struggle if we have the solution? And then if we can create a compensation package on top of that, people can create a career. They can do what they love and make a living at it at the same time. So that's my story. That's kind of how I got here.
That is, I'm over here just bawling, and thank you. Wow. Thank you, Hiep, for being, so vulnerable and authentic, Those of you that are watching this, listening to it, I think you now know why I am so fired up, why I'm so excited. Let me regroup here. Hiep, this is just my feeling. I truly believe there's modern, and I know this is going to make you uncomfortable because you're so humble, but I'm going to say it anyways. I truly believe that there are modern day prophets. I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple in my life. Mr. Blanks, Billy Blanks, the Taibo guy, I believe is one of those. He had such a heart, such a passion. He still does, to just change the world. I mean, Martin Luther King, Gandhi. I truly believe you're one of them. You know, the vision you have, the, you know, commitment that you have. I remember when I was talking to you on Saturday night, you know, and it was, you were sharing about this app that you've created, which is the
Amari Life.
Yeah, the more, but you just said, so we got the products, the people, and the programs. Yeah. So, and which is beyond amazing. I'm doing it. It's changing my life right now. I'm blessed to be doing it. But there was a moment, Hiep, where it was like, I've had this moment 2 or 3 times in my life. It was like everything stopped, and I just looked at you, and I was listening to you, and it was like I got to see inside you for a second, and I was like, wow, this guy has such amazing vision. This is insane. This is crazy. Who thinks of this? You know, so I wanted to share that with you because that was a big moment for me. You know, you talked about your values, you know, are love, humility, innovation, integrity, service. You've already talked about love and service. I want to go through them. So humility, why humility? Why did you pick that one? How does that add to the formula?
Because for me to get back into the business world, I've had a lot of success, tremendous amount of success. This is a passion project for me. I was recruiting a dream team of executives from, you know, the top 5 companies in the world to join me. I didn't have patience to deal with egos, because Amari is not about egos. It's not about me or look at me or all about me. And so we wanted to make sure that we all align with the core value of humility, because it's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about one person or one family. Our mission is about serving the world, bringing a solution that the world definitely needs. And there is no place for ego in our business. So no matter how successful we become, we will never make it about one person, one family, or anything. Amari is not about me. Amari is about serving the world. And so it's important for us to always operate within humility.
And you know, I will tell you this, and I'll share something with you. It's just when God makes things happen, right? You know what I mean, Hiep? It's just, there's so much in the line. Because this, for me, when I went through this, when this fell on my lap, and I, for the first time in my life, because I'm a D, I'm a red personality. If I see something and my heart gets going, I'll just jump off the diving board. If there's no water in there, I don't care. I'm off and running. But for the first time, I was like, because this was big for me. You know, I'd lost my fire. I went through many challenges like you. Just prior to meeting you, it got very, very dark for me, and I had those thoughts. The world would be better without me. My family would be better without me. You know, going down that road. And I just wasn't excited about anything. And then this was put on my lap, and I was like, wow, this is really in alignment with who I am and what I want to do and everything. But I actually went through the process for the first time in my life. Meditation, prayer, taking it to my sacred circle, taking it to my pastor, looking for the confirmations, taking it to my wife, the final step, and everything was in alignment. And, you know, and it was just like, when I walked and I finally got to, I call them the Fab Five, by the way, your team that you put together, I'm calling them the Fab Five. But you're right, because I've been there before as an actor. For example, on an actor, you know, the actors are on the ground floor, corporate's on the 5th floor. You never got to go to the 5th floor. If you were called to the 5th floor, it wasn't a good thing. Okay, sure. you know, they keep it separate. Even in my other companies, I've been with 2 other companies that I, you know, love very much, but there wasn't that It was like, we're corporate, you're the distributors, you know.
Sure.
But the minute I met you, it was like we were family. I felt like we've been on fishing trips, hunting trips, and now that I know why, there is no egos. And I've said for years with my training, I say, I get it.
Yeah.
You got to start with you. You got to come here because you want it. But as soon as you, and the sooner you can get up in the morning and come to the gym, or the soon as you can do something and you make it about others, the results you will happen so fast, you blow it away. So I love that. I connect with that. So innovation, what does the innovation side mean to you?
So innovation, it's really important to always evolve, because as humans, we're constantly evolving. Science is evolving. Things are evolving. You constantly have to innovate. Throughout my career and my successes, you always have to be the best version of yourself. You constantly have to evolve. You constantly have to innovate, whether it's technology, your culture, your team, yourself, most importantly yourself. You can't innovate unless you're not innovating yourself. So innovation for us is really important. We went into this as the mental wellness company. We couldn't create this type of company 5 years ago because the world wasn't ready to talk about mental wellness. So, but just selling products or vitamins or supplements weren't enough. I wanted to create a global platform, a grid where everyone could feel better. It's not about just selling someone a bottle of vitamins or supplements and saying, I hope you'll be fine. That's irresponsible. We had to innovate, and innovation, or core value of innovation, is responsible for Amari Life. It's a bigger vision. It's no one's doing what we're doing. And again, we're coupling the products with the programs with a passionate community of people. And this platform, this Amari Life platform grid, will again connect millions of people globally and align them towards love, good service, and mental wellness. So it's very innovative what we're doing.
And I couldn't agree more. When I think about, I've been a fitness professional for 40 years now, and I've always been, which is okay, but it's always been from the outside in, the physical, how do we look and all that. And, we at Amari are very much from the inside out, the gut brain axis, the heart, like you say, innovative, nobody's doing it. But I will tell you, because that's my job as a fitness professional, I can honestly say I've pretty much tried everything. Stuff that you can't even imagine, some people, right? Because I always keep an open mind, and I felt pretty darn good in my life. I felt, at times I was like, wow, but I've never, ever, and it's like day 19, it's blowing my mind how amazing I feel. I mean, sleeping through the night. I don't even remember when I've ever done that. Energy, clarity. At 56, I've always been proud of the fact that I have a photographic memory. I didn't have a photographic memory anymore. And as an actor, that's important. But also, when you become addicted to opioids and, you start self-medicating, we've both been there. You get pretty foggy up there, angry, all those things. And I just feel clear and focused, just regular things, like just things you don't even think about. But, it's important. I mean, I don't even want to go down that road. Pain, I am so grateful, and I know you will get this, because I got pretty much everything covered right now. I feel very focused, with alcohol, and got that and those other things that I was doing. I have no desire for that, but I know for whatever reason, if I've got to go to the doctor and get a bottle of painkillers, it's a death sentence for me. It's like giving me a loaded gun. I get, so I am externally grateful for you and the Fab Five and your vision that if you've given me an alternative. I am literally day 13 Hiep. I woke up, and since then I have been completely pain-free. It's mind-boggling to me. It's like I keep waiting to wake up and say maybe it's a dream or whatever. So, in terms of that, I can totally get what you're saying, and just letting you're doing what your vision is. So the last one, integrity. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so integrity is doing what you say you're going to do for me. And I'm big on that. If you're not going to do something, don't say it. And so integrity is just living your life the same. You're not wearing different masks when you're at work or at home, or you're not different people. Integrity is just being you and being allowing yourself to be seen and doing exactly what you're saying you're going to do. And so that's one of our top core values here at Amari is we do what we're going to say we're going to do, and that's not negotiable in what we do and who we are as people.
I love your non-negotiable things. I had on my business card once. This is another thing where there's so many things for me personally. I actually had a business card several years ago, Hiep, and my tagline, before I had the tagline, I'll believe in you till you believe yourself, my tagline used to be who you say you are, which is, the total. And I will share this with you. When I met you all, and I've said this several times, I was very, very excited. I said, I found the company I want to join. And I just was bursting and excited about it. After spending, I always get emotional still when I talk about this, because it's so powerful. After spending 3 days with y'all last week, on the third day, I called my wife and I said, baby, I didn't join a company. I joined a movement. I joined a mission. I said, I joined a family. And the one thing, when I saw Sarah, who is my fearless leader of our team, and Derek get up on stage, and when I saw you, and I saw Pat, and I saw Rich, and I saw Dr. Talbot, and Mike, and, 2 Mikes, and met your family, and I was like, dude, it changed for me. It was like, because when I saw your passion and your heart, I said, I'm going to fight for those people. This isn't just another company or job. It says, I'm going to fight. I will go down fighting for Hiep and his vision and the Amari family. And that's what I took away from those 3 days. I was talking with Pat the other day. It was no rah-rah session. It was like, when you meet people, you know what I'm saying, Hiep? It was like, I'm in the trenches with these guys. I'm dude. You will have to take me out. I will take a bullet for these people. That's for me personally. That's how much I got in that. So I
want to add something really quick on the symposium. What you felt was the entire room, and the passion, the desire to make a difference, the Amari Mental Wellness Warriors. That's the heartbeat of Amari. You cannot stop a group of people that are so passionate, so fired up, so purposeful in what they want to do. This movement cannot be stopped. And like you said, imagine what you're feeling, what you're willing to do, and you're locking arms with hundreds of thousands of people doing the same thing. That's how we're going to make a difference in the world.
Oh man, amen. You know what I'm thinking when you're saying that? The 300 movie, the Warriors, because those guys, you got to think about it. And that's what I feel we are. Just like you said, those guys, they just raised their sword and ran into, most people, they didn't think they were going to come out of that, but they fought for that cause, and they weren't going in there shy. They were going in there hardcore. So let's just quick fire questions, just because I know you got to go. I like to do rapid fire, and then I could talk to you forever, but we got to respect your time, and I'll wrap this up. Who's your favorite superhero?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Okay.
So because I have unique spidey senses, and I can feel things and sense things before they happen. So I've been known in my career as Spider-Man.
Wow. Okay. So so if you were a superhero, what would your superpower be, and how would you use that to change the world?
If I was a superhero, what would I be? Probably Superman, because I could fly around, and when I needed to lift a mountain, I could probably lift a mountain.
Yeah. Okay, last one. So for me, it was my mom and dad. My dad taught me there's no such word as C-A-N-T. I don't even say the word. I erase it from my vocabulary at 13. My mom always used to say to me, you know, I grew up on the other side of the tracks, so my mom would always say to me, don't dream tonight, son, dream big. So that's why I became an entrepreneur. I had that vision. You know, I always said I would be successful. Who would be your greatest mentor? And did they have a tagline? Did you have a saying that you carried your whole life that made you who you are today?
So one of my big mentors in life is Dan Caesar. And so a question I've been working with in the last, I'm going to say 10 or 12 years, 10 years. A question he has always asked me is, how big do you want to play? And in my early in my career, I thought that meant things, money, or how big do you want to be? But later on in life, as I went through my journey and I matured, it evolved into how big of an impact do you want to have in the world? And so, you know, I think about it all the time. And as I'm building Amari, how big you want to play? I mean, it's not about, you know, making $100 million. What about making a difference in 1 million lives? That's how big I want to play. I want to help 1 million families. I want to help 2 million families. One day when, you know, it's my funeral, I want someone to be able to say, yeah, you know, we together have helped over 2 million families feel better. And that's the ripple effect in the world that we create.
Wow.
So that's how big I want to play.
And I think you're being modest with 2 million when I see, and you know, I'm gonna wrap it up with this because we have so many things in common, Hiep. It's amazing. I said this many times. My people know this. I've said this, and Hiep is new in my life. I always say, I wake up in the morning and I look around and I say, okay, I got another day on this earth. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go out and attack this day with excellence, because how do you want to be remembered? What do you want on your tombstone? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? How many people do you want to come to your funeral? And I don't want millions of people to come to my funeral because I'm a cool guy. Rael was awesome. It's because, just like you said, I want to have changed millions and millions and millions of lives, and they're coming to be grateful or whatever. So, you know, with that said, Hiep, man, this was amazing. This was phenomenal, beyond phenomenal. And I'm so grateful for you putting your heart out there. You know, I'm going to put you on the line right here. I want to be mentored by you. I want to be in that sacred circle. So if you're taking any more people, I want to be one of those people. And
definitely taking you.
Thank you. And so I want to say to you guys watching this, I'm just going to speak from my heart here, which I do all the time. If you're finding yourself in your life where you felt that you aren't making a difference, or that maybe there's more in your life, that you know you're called for more. By the way, I'm going to tell you, you are. You're not just here to take up space, but maybe you're just clicking the clock right now. Maybe you're just driving and you're in LA and you're doing 2.5 hours of traffic and clicking the clock and 2.5 hours back, but you're not making a difference. You're frustrated, you're struggling, and you want to be part of something great. I think I don't have to speak. You guys watched history here. I'm just speaking it. It's just me. Those of you that got to watch this, you will hear and know the name Hiep Tran. You will know Amari. And you have the opportunity right now to be part of this war, this army, this vision as we go forward. So if this is something that excites you, we invite you to, you know, take a look at our brand on the brand side. These products will change your life and you're looking for something. We invite you to just take a look, just check it out. But on a bigger picture, I'm going to keep it real. I know I'm speaking for Hiep. I want to help everybody, but for us to go out and change 200, 300 millions of lives, or I speak big like Hiep, we cannot do it alone. We cannot do it alone as much as I'd like to. So we're looking for warriors. We're looking for, you know, generals, passionate people that want to go out there and help us make a difference and change the world, so that when you go home, just like me and Hiep, you can know that you left a legacy and you made a difference. So if that's you, obviously we're not talking to everybody, but if that's you, you're even curious, you're fired up right now, it's making your heart pulse again, you feel like you're fired up, get back with the person that shared this podcast, this video, this YouTube thing, and say, how can I be part of this? How can I be part of this? Once again, I appreciate you all for taking time to watch this. And as always, champions, if somebody was put on your heart, a name or whatever, just share it. Just tag them on this, please. We want to get the word out there. And I will put this out there. Mexico, we're going into Mexico. That's our first stop. Anybody know anybody in Mexico? Get back with the person about you. We love the introduction. So with that said, I'll believe in you till you believe in yourself. Let me rephrase that. Because I'm now part of a mission. I'm part of an army. I'm part of a family. We will believe in you till you believe in yourself. Make the rest of the day the best of the day. God bless.